Um, a few other things to point out. 15 years ago, when Brad and I both started studying permaculture and water harvesting and then starting to do it and starting to teach it, we had a hard time even getting people to come to a class. And look at this. This is fabulous. We've kind of had a paradigm shift in the meantime where water harvesting is caught on at the grassroots level, and it's also being promoted at the political level. What happens is it comes down from the political level and up from the grassroots level, it meets the development services reviewer level. Okay, it meets the regulatory level in between. So now there are some regulations affecting residential homeowners. One of the most recent is a decision by the Development Services Department that tanks will be interpreted as accessory structures. So if you wanted to put a shed in your yard, you would need to call Development Services Department and talk to them and get a permit and find out the rules for accessory structures, like setbacks from your back property boundary, setbacks from the side, whether they can be in the side yard or the front yard. Now tanks are in that same category. So if you're thinking of putting a tank in your yard, you need to call the city's Development Services Department if you're in the city and find out the specifics of what you can and can't do. This has resulted from people putting tanks outside their walls in the public rights of way and putting giant tanks right at the back of their yard so they block their neighbors' views, and unfortunately that results in complaints and it results in people being forced to make rules. Another rule that's recently happened is specifications of how you can do curb cuts and how you can make that basin associated with it. You can get the specifications from that from the city's Department of Transportation. It's an inexpensive permit that you need to build them, and they do need to be built per specifications. Punchline of that being, move your basin 2 feet away from the curb so you're not infiltrating water right directly next to the curb. 2 reasons: people stepping out of their cars step into scratchy, brush in holes, and also water is infiltrating and settling right next to the roadbed, which could be detrimental to the stability of that roadbed. So, one other thing you need to be aware of: you hook your tank to your irrigation system so that you can trade off between those. Your irrigation system is hooked to the potable water line. Now, the city does not want tank water being sucked back into the potable water line if there's some change in pressure. So you need a backflow prevention device, or you need an air gap that prevents that possibility that tank water can be sucked into your drinking water supply, your neighbor's drinking water supply. The city has not made a regulation on that so far. They've decided not to, as long as best practices can be exercised. So we'll be putting in a brochure to kind of provide some guidance on that. But the role of the city is public safety. So where it's perceived that something needs to be taken care of, they're going to take care of it. And another caveat, yes, Mom, tank water is not potable. It's not just not potable, it also has toxins in it. We found that 6 out of 12 tanks we sampled in Tucson 3 or 4 years ago had detectable lead in the water, some of them exceeding the drinking water standard. And that turned out, most likely, the source was the old leaded gas deposited on our soils all those decades, and the lead sticks to the soil. So as that soil blows up and dust devils and various things, it lands on your roof. That dust gets washed into the tank and settles to the bottom, and a sludge layer is formed. And if you only did that once, it wouldn't be a problem. But because that happens over and over and over again, those metals from the environment get concentrated in that sludge layer at the tank. And if the water is turbulent, like after a big rainstorm, and you pull it out, you're pulling out water that's more highly concentrated than would otherwise be. Now, the tanks didn't create that environment. It's just that the nature of it is to get concentrated, and that's why first flush devices, Charles sort of illustrated a filtration device. There's first flush devices that can deflect the first runoff from your rooftop and keep it out of your tank and keep it from concentrating there. So something to be very well aware of. The other thing that concentrates in tanks is zinc. because that's what galvanized steel sheds. And zinc is not good for birds. So don't put tank water in your bird bath. Might not be good for the birds. Okay, I said enough. I feel like I've rained on all your parades. I'm very enthusiastic about water harvesting, very excited to see the commercial industry doing it, and I'm glad to be in the city in a place where I get to sit down with Walmarts and talk to them about how they're going to make basins. So there's lots and lots of good news, but there's also a lot of education that goes on with undertaking this kind of new technology. Okay, now we'll take questions.
I have a question for Jay, the good company. In combination with how much water you're using in your household and the rainfall at the time, how long did it take for your cistern to fill, or for you at least to get to the point where you didn't need to supplement your cistern?
We didn't start seriously collecting water in our cistern until the month of September when we moved into the house. So we missed the summer rains that summer. So we had that first year, to use the well about half the time. And even though we've been in a drought, it's taken until our cistern has filled and overflowed. It first overflowed summer a year and a half ago. And it's been overflowing during the summer and winter rains since then. And we have a 6-month supply of water in there now if we use nothing but the cistern water, and the summer rain should be starting again in about 4 months. So it's how quickly it fills depends really on whether you're drawing from it as it's filling, and that's what we did. So since we were drawing from it ever since we moved into the house, when there was water in there to draw from, it took longer to fill than it would have if we hadn't been using it.
I'm sorry, about how long was that from September until?
It didn't actually fill and overflow until about 4 years after we moved into the house, because we were using it that much. By the way, I should mention too that I did bring a handout sheet about rainwater harvesting and the use of water for household purposes, and it's on the back desk there in the corner. You're all welcome to pick one up as you leave.
And I'm sorry, just what was the square footage of your roof also?
Sorry?
Square footage of your roof?
5,250 feet.